Professional certification is priceless in this industry. There's a lot of people who say they're a travel agent, travel professional, but you want someone who's verified, someone who has the knowledge, the skills, and I've got 30 years in the business. So that's a priceless thing to have someone with so much knowledge in an ever-changing world.
It's an exclusivity type of thing. I want to be credentialed. I want to show that I have a mastery of professionalism, and that I feel like really sets me apart.
My business did see an increase in sales, and I think that has a lot to do with attracting more clients who are comfortable seeing that I have a VTA designation.
Understanding from the ASTA training just how important it is to cover yourself. And ASTA really took me through like how important terms and conditions are, errors and omissions insurance, things that I never had to worry about before. And I feel so much better. I sleep a lot better at night knowing that my business is taken care of and my personal being and my family are taken care of.
Welcome to Travel You Can Trust, the podcast by the American Society of Travel Advisors. ASTA is the world's leading association of travel professionals and is the global advocate for travel agencies, the travel industry, and the traveling public. My name is Alvin Adriano, Director of Education, and I'm joined here by my colleague, Michael Schottey, Vice President of Membership, Marketing, and Communications here at ASTA. So we've got a great show for you lined up for today, and it's all about advocacy. We're joined by Jay Ellenby, President of Safe Harbors Travel, and a former ASTA board chairman as well. We also have, for a special treat, Jessica Klement, our Vice President of Advocacy here at ASTA. But first, Schottey?
Yeah, Alvin, we taped these first couple of episodes in our newly launched podcast a while ago, and some things have been happening at ASTA. It's a different world from, what was it, like November when we taped those first episodes? So, thankfully, the project rolled on. We got some things cleared off of our plates, and we're back into taping episodes. But we released a couple of podcasts with me as the Senior Director of Marketing. That's changed to Vice President. I've taken over a couple of departments. But I want to talk to you about your new role at ASTA, which is kind of your new role, same as the old role. You are the major domo, the champion in charge. You are the dude in charge of ASTA's Verified Travel Advisor program. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on at ASTA these days.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's lots of changes going on, a big reorganization through ASTA, and it's important. I mean, I think everyone understands that change is inevitable when you're trying for success, and that's what we needed to do at ASTA, and that's what we did. And in that change, I took on the role of Director of Education. And as Schottey mentioned, my primary focus is really growing the educational initiatives and projects that we have at ASTA to make sure they're relevant, up to date, and they're full of value. And also just focusing and spearheading our VTA program, the Verified Travel Advisor Certification Program, which we believe is going to be the game changer, a way that we're going to professionalize the industry, create standardization, and make it clear, clearly change the perception of our industry. So we're really excited. I'm excited for my new role and excited to get the ground running because we've got a lot of new updates, especially for all our members who's out there. But you've added some new people to your team too. I mean, you've taken on some new roles, and we've got some other changes going on. Schottey, what else about what's happening with you and your departments?
Yeah, really a nice alignment with once upon a time, communications and marketing were together at ASTA and both kind of sat under advocacy, which, made sense when ASTA was a team of, 10 people, 10 or so years ago, maybe 12. But then as the organization has grown, communications and marketing grew apart. And I really took over marketing efforts a couple of years ago, ran with those, a great team around me that does a lot of the heavy lifting while I just sit here and look pretty. But now, as the trade media reported a couple of weeks ago from this taping, Erica Richter is leaving ASTA after her 10 years. We're going to miss Erica. She's done an amazing job with our consumer advocacy efforts. But made the decision at that time to rejoin the two departments and really yes, replace Erica, and that process is on our way to find our spokesperson, to find our person to lead those consumer affairs efforts, but really put it under one roof. And I think one of the coolest things that I've seen for the past couple of weeks in this new role is how much synergy there is between the membership and the marketing and the communications departments, because really that's how we talk externally to everybody, whether it's the traveling public, whether it's the industry, whether it's our suppliers, whether it's our members. And the alignment there, when everyone knows what everyone else is doing and everyone is working together to remove blockers, to get things done efficiently, it's been really cool. And it's been really cool to see people like not work any harder, not do really things differently even, but just move with some purpose because they're moving together, because they know what their teammates are doing. I think one of the easiest things to do in any organization, and I think our listeners probably can commiserate with this, is everyone thinks that they work really hard. And I would guess that, with so many travel advisors listening to us, many of our listeners are working very hard. But when you're working really hard, it's really easy to not see the hard work everyone else is doing, because you see the external, you don't see what goes into that. You don't see what goes into the product. You just see the end result. And so I think it's been really cool for some of the people who are on these various teams now that they've been reshuffled, realigned, to see just how hard their colleagues are working and what goes into some of that day-to-day to make the trains run on time, to make the ship leave the port, to make that train take off on the runway. Even in an organization as small as ASTA. ASTA has always been sort of a small but mighty team doing great big things. And I love where this organization is going. And I love where the VTA program is going. I also want to ask you a little bit, you and I kind of sit at the crossroads of Verification, our new consumer advocacy tool. You have to be a VTA to be on Verification. So that's your world. It has to get marketed and sent to consumers. That's now my world. So where do you see Verification as sort of this gold standard that you talked about, VTA? Where do you see this as making the difference in the travel industry?
Yeah, I mean, our podcast today will be focusing on advocacy. And a lot of times we always associate advocacy with just legislation, policies, talking to our elected officials. But advocacy can also be consumer awareness. And that's what the Verification is all about. For so long, our industry has been defending travel advisors and our profession. But now this is a new renaissance. This is a new time for travel advisors. It's mentioned in the Bureau of Labor that travel advisors are on the up and up with 3% job outlook. I think LinkedIn and Expedia both put travel advisors as the top careers for this year. So we really have to make sure that we change the perception, not only for the traveling public, but for all industries that work with travel advisors, that this is an industry that has to be reckoned with. And we wanted to make sure that advisors can get connected with consumers, and consumers can be connected with advisors who understand their roles as a travel advisor and what that means. So we came up with the VTA program. It has gone through a couple of evolutions and changes, but we feel really good at what we're producing, being able to award advisors a certification based on their knowledge and understanding of their legal responsibilities, being able to hold ethics and standards. And I think that's going to speak volumes when we talk about professionalizing the industry, because, this is a lot different from any other certification out there, just because we have a sales volume criteria. But it really just makes it even more valuable, because consumers know that these advisors have a book of business. They know what they're doing, their expertise, and they're ready to help consumers find the destinations and bring the value that they are looking for. So we're really excited about this program, and I love being able to work with you and all of our teammates in ASTA, just because, like you mentioned before, having a unified voice is so important, not only in advocacy, but in everything that we do. So we're purposeful, we're intentional, and I just love the direction that we're headed for.
And I think it's so important now to do this, because so many people are going to ChatGPT and a new operator function for some of these AIs that are allowing people not only to research travel, but even book travel on some sites. That's scary. That's scary because, like, I've seen how AI works with recommending restaurants that are closed or recommending hotels that, maybe had a 3 or 4 star review once upon a time, but have like dwindled and are, barely open, in a sketchy part of town that maybe, the geographical parameters of that city have changed. And so all of a sudden, you're getting a pretty solid trip. And then you use this function with AI. And next thing you know, you're staying on the wrong side of the tracks with some, people around you might not want around you. And you've got some reservations at hotels that don't exist anymore. So as quickly as AI is developing, the human element, we live in a world, and I've done the traveling circuit for the last couple of weeks doing, marketing presentations to our chapters and to various groups. And one of the things that keeps sticking out to me is people don't really realize that, whether it's the Kardashians or something else, like something has changed our cultural mindset that there's no such thing as imposter syndrome anymore. Like there are people who, build $1 million businesses based on the fact that they got on camera and said they're an expert. And, the big one, the one I love to use in the travel industry is the Fire Festival. And there's the big documentary on, I think, Netflix about this Fire Festival that people went and thought they were getting this, amazing experience. And it was like cold cheese sandwiches and musical acts that had pulled out without telling anybody and just this terrible travel experience. That guy is booking another Fire Festival right now. He just got out of prison. He is on community service. Like that man is booking another fire, like right now.
Yeah.
Like, who's doing that trip? Who is booking? Like only AI is booking that trip. But again, like there are listeners out there who are listening to us and they're like, well, I can't go on social media and say I'm a travel expert. Like I don't have this certification or this qual. Like, yeah, you can, because everyone else around is. Like, if you are an active booking seller of travel, you've done the research, you work with suppliers, you are an ASTA member, you've got your VTA, or any of the other accreditations out there, like you are already more qualified than so many of the people that are on Instagram right now. And to have something like VTA and Verification to say, no, these are the people you can trust. Mm-hmm. This is the travel you can trust, I think is so important when these, AI, these unscrupulous people, right over the holiday break, there was, the Justice Department started going after a travel advisor who was, booking university sports travel and, basically made it a Ponzi scheme where he was, booking travel for himself and not for, his clients. Like this is stuff that happens. But where it doesn't happen? It doesn't happen with VTAs. And that's a verifiable fact that since we've launched this program back in 2017, we've made some changes, launched Verification. There's never been a VTA who's ever had a mark against them at ASTA. So we're super proud of that. I think this is coming at the right time. And we were doing some VTA stuff at our upcoming events. Alvin, tell us a little bit about what we've got going on with VTA. We've got ASTA River Cruise Expo coming up. We've got the Travel Advisor Conference coming up. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on at those events.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we're really adamant about this project, making sure that all advisors understand the legal responsibilities they hold, and just so that they understand the competition isn't each other. It's really the misconceptions that are out there, the AI, DIYers, direct to booking. We want to make sure that we lean on the skills and just make sure that we recognize advisors. And so, as Schottey mentioned, we're at the River Cruise Expo, Travel Advisor Conferences, and all of the ASTA events throughout the year. You'll once you attend, you'll earn 1 CE towards your VTA maintenance. And we're also bringing towards at Travel Advisor Conference this year in Salt Lake City, the opportunity to earn your certification on site. This is something that we played with last year, and with the unsurmountable amount of interest that was out there, we wanted to make sure that we provided something, because all the advisors out there are busy. We know that you're deciding between different fam trips, different conferences, besides your own come away with me group. So we wanted to make sure we made the process easy, streamlined. So we're offering a VTA Fast Track on the Monday, May 19th, the day prior to the event, where you can take an expedited version. You'll have training and workshops with Peter Labassa, our Senior Vice President General Counsel, and just go through real world scenarios, use cases, and just be able to implement the learnings from the 4 core courses. You'll take one test instead of the 4, but it's an easy way for you to be able to earn your certification while you're also participating at the Travel Advisor Conference. So we're really excited about that. We're really excited to find other opportunities to share the VTA Fast Track and all the coursework. So if you're interested, we definitely invite you to visit www.asta.org/VTA and find out more about our Verified Travel Advisor program, where you can find and stand out as a reputable, credible travel advisor. Are you a travel advisor looking to stand out? Well, the ASTA Verified Travel Advisor program is your key to success. This self-paced online certification gives you the skills you need to thrive, covering legal insights, ethical excellence, industry relationships, and regulatory compliance. With your VTA certification, you'll build trust with clients, boost your credibility, and gain a competitive edge and take your business to the next level. Show the world you're the travel expert they can count on. Ready to get started? Well, visit asta.org/VTA and become a verified travel advisor today. All right, welcome back to Travel You Can Trust, an ASTA podcast where we bring you the latest insights and updates from the travel industry. And today, we're joined by Jay Ellenby, president of Safe Harbors Travel Group, located in Bel Air, Maryland. He's been leading the way over there for over 30 plus years and has been a longtime advocate for the industry. And if you know, during his great career, a former ASTA board chairman. So super excited to have him today on today's show. So let's dive right in, and please help me welcome Mr. Jay Ellenby. Jay?
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you, Schottey. Thanks for having me. I can't wait to hear the questions and give you my take on what's been going on in the past few years.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Jay. I mean, it looks, every time I see you, you look like you're getting younger, man. You got to share the diet, my man.
It's the lighting is maybe, or it's flattery. I get it.
Butter you up before the interview. That's how we do it, right?
Exactly.
Well, great to see you and appreciate you dropping by the podcast. So as you mentioned, let's just get right into it. So, hey, as a longtime volunteer and industry advocate, as you look back, was there an aha moment where you just realized just how important advocacy was for the industry? Basically, when did you realize that it was very important for advocacy as a travel professional?
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been a long-time member of ASTA, and as you mentioned, I've been in this industry now for about 35 years, and a long-time member of ASTA. And the earlier days of my career is when ASTA was having its issues, and at this point today, there was no bigger and better trade association out there, and during that time in the upswing, I started getting involved with Legislative Day. I started getting involved when we would hear a plea from ASTA, ASTA Advocacy or areas within ASTA that say, hey, there's something going on in your state house, in our case, Maryland, and we could use your assistance in either going down and representing or testifying. Once I saw that was where I saw that there was power. There was power because it enabled us to really demonstrate what our industry is about. And so that's when the light switched on for me, was those opportunities to educate and share the amazing things that our industry does.
Yeah, it's funny how an experience like that really changes your perspective of what it is to be a travel professional. We talk about being an advisor, an entrepreneur, business owner, but being out there as an advocate for your industry is really important. Me and you, Jay, we went out in several cases as part of the Government Political Affairs Committee, and just going out and sharing our story, which is important, especially sharing our story with elected officials and legislators. So I totally agree. Just having that experience has changed the way I look at my role in the industry.
Yeah, that's where we first met.
It is.
That's where we first met, was standing outside in the cold, going into one of the office buildings in Annapolis, and you and I were amongst all the real estate agents.
Yeah.
All the real estate agents had big red hats that said real estate agents or something like that. And you and I still joke about this.
We still don't have the hats. We need the hat.
We needed light blue hats that had ASTA on there. So, But with that, we were part of the mix.
Yeah.
We're part of the mix, aside from the fact that you and I developed a great friendship, but also the fact that, we were there. We were there we were three of us there, where, the real estate people, they had 100 there. So we were, luckily we weren't going against them, but the fact was that we were representing and we stood out, and even without the hats, but we stood out and made a difference.
Jay, in your years of advocating on behalf of the travel industry, leading ASTA, going to legislative day, how have you seen government policies or regulations directly impact the travel industry?
Yeah. Schottey, there has been legislation at multiple levels. It first started out one where I think where Alvin and I first met, I think it had something to do with insurance. We were trying to enable all agents to travel advisors to be able to process insurance unilaterally throughout the country without having a different license per state. So we were trying to do that. I believe that was the case. But the ones that were most significant were cases where they were coming out with fees and charging some kind of tax on what we did as a service. And first of all, okay, fine, you're trying to generate revenue, but 99.9% of the time, what you were putting in place made no sense. And, for example, an airline ticket, they wanted to charge that entire amount of an airline ticket, which also include our fee. So first of all, we don't have that money from the airline. So that $500 ticket plus our fee, let's say it's $25, they wanted to tax it $525 to us. And so therefore that $500, which was never any kind of revenue, it's just pass through, nothing collected. So items like that, Schottey, what we were able to demonstrate that, first of all, it didn't make any sense. And second of all, it makes no sense of actually taxing these type of items. Go find another place to tax.
Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes there's a misconception with some advisors not knowing that advocacy is for everyone, every advisor, not just the big players, the industry leaders, but for every advisor to go out there. Why is it important? Well, when we take a step back, what is a simple way for an advisor to just go ahead and get started and get themselves involved for advocacy?
Yeah. The easiest way to do it is legislative day. That's the easiest way because you're surrounded by others and you're surrounded by typically people who have done it before. And ASTA just does an amazing job of prepping everyone, getting them ready to go, giving them the talking points. Sometimes people think too far into it. They think too deeply into it and they get themselves all wound up and nervous, and there's no need because you have the talking points right there and say, hey, we want to ask for this, this, and this, maybe even just 2 or 3 items. And that's it. But, people get intimidated and by, hey, I am going into my legislator's office. Mm-hmm. You know what? That person puts pants on the same way as you do. And that's how you have to approach it. This is somebody that can make a difference in what you want to share with them. But that's the easiest way to get involved is go to Ledge Day. And I think the second easiest way is to, when there is a situation, unfortunately when there is to get involved and go down to, in our case, Annapolis, the state capital, to demonstrate the reasons why particular legislation is faulty.
Let's talk a little bit about how all of this is set up, because you own a business. Your business does quite a lot of travel business. It has a huge impact in the travel industry. And there are other, larger organizations that you put Safe Harbors Travel and ASTA together, and there are organizations out there that dwarf both of us by magnitudes. But what role does a day like Advocacy at a legislative day or a organization like ASTA play when, like you said, sometimes people are intimidated and we're just the little guy? There might be couple hundred realtors on Capitol Hill with their red hats, or, last year was like some, AI people in black t-shirts. A couple of years ago, there were the purple shirts from, Alzheimer's awareness. Like, there are some massive organizations. What role can an organization like ASTA truly play that you've seen over the years?
Education. It's just flat out education. And that's the best thing. Whether or not we make a difference, we like to think we make a difference. But the bottom line is educating. And, when we go, let's use the example again of legislative day. And when we go in and meet with their aides, their assistants and so on, they're very young and overworked. So these are people and also very bright. And so oftentimes we're meeting with them, and if we get lucky, we might have the actual senator or representative coming in. So when we have an opportunity to meet them with them directly, fantastic. But even with their aides is an opportunity that we can educate them. And oftentimes, I know I love asking the question is, first of all, how do you travel? Where do you travel? And by the way, did you use a travel advisor? And just asking that question, you get a response. They might say, no, I went online, or I actually used somebody. So with that, just the basic principles of why or why not they are using a travel advisor goes a long way. And then you can go down that path saying, you know what you did and going online, you're not supported. You're on your own. All those things that, happens. Or if you are using a travel advisor, that's fantastic. That's great, because I can guarantee that person, chances are, we would think that they're an ASTA member, and that you are in good hands, because when things go wrong, you are supported very well. So at the end of the day, to your question, Schottey, it's really education and helping them understand the process and really the value that we bring.
I love that, Jay. I mean, it's important. It's an important point, because most advisors don't realize that their stories, their personal experiences, is what legislators and staffers really want to hear about. Everyone talks about, like you mentioned earlier, the fear of going into an elected official and being able to be perfect. They really just want to hear your story. And I think that's important, as anyone who's never been to legislative day, to understand, like, it is you that we want to hear from. And I just want to ask you, as a professional who's been doing this for many years, what are some of those misconceptions that advisors have about advocacy, besides just, the fear of going in there? Any other misconception you can think of?
Excuse me, I say the number one thing is definitely fear.
Yeah.
It's the intimidation factor. And, again, you guys do such an amazing job in prepping everyone. You can get past that. And oftentimes when they do go through that, usually when they have that first meeting, that second meeting, everything's easy then. As that first one's the hardest one. The second one is, you have those who are, they get frustrated with the system, and they think that I can't make a difference. What kind of difference am I going to make? Mm-hmm. That's probably a close second to the first one being a fear. The close second is, I can't make a difference. Well, my first response is, yeah, you can make a difference. You can absolutely make a difference. And ASTA prepares everybody to make that difference. And that difference, as I already stated, is education. And then secondly, sharing why we are passionate about the industry and the issues at stake. So they're the key issues there.
Are you a travel advisor ready to grow your business and build trust with new clients? Verivacation is a brand new platform that connects travelers directly with verified travel advisors. Showcase your certification, stand out as a trusted professional, and attract clients seeking expertise and personalized service. Join Verivacation with an active ASTA membership and your up-to-date VTA certification, and be part of a network that values integrity, professionalism, and exceptional customer care. It's time to show the world why you're the advisor they can trust. Welcome back to Travel You Can Trust, an ASTA podcast. Thanks to Jay Ellenby, our last guest. Right now, we're joined by Jessica Klement, VP of Advocacy for the American Society of Travel Advisors, a good friend to me and a pest in the side of Alvin Adriano. But here to talk about ASTA's advocacy efforts. And Jessie has ramped those up in recent years. And we're going to talk about what's going on right now at ASTA in terms of advocacy and what some of our listeners can look forward to in the coming year. Alvin, take it away.
So yeah, Jess, one of the most passionate people here in ASTA, one of my favorite colleagues, just because we can bust it on the dance floor. But, you're so engaged with our members, and it's because of your past. But I really want all the viewers to really understand why advocacy is so personal for you. Why is it such a big passion for you?
Thanks, Alvin, and thanks for having me, you guys. I just want one point of clarification before we get started. I am a friend to Alvin and a pain in Schottey's side, okay? I want that clear for our listeners. Alvin, friend, Schottey, foe, okay? We got this covered?
Yes,
thanks so much. Okay, good. I love talking about advocacy. You guys give me 15 to 20 minutes, and that's always a challenge, so I'll see what I can do. It's a good question. Why am I so passionate about advocacy? It's basically what I've devoted my career to. ASTA is my third membership association and came here about 3.5 years ago to the travel space, which I absolutely love. Our members are so kind and so engaging and professional and want to take their business to the next level, want to take ASTA to the next level. And everybody loves travel. So I go to the Hill and I talk about our members and what travel advisors do, from the part-time independent business owner to the travel management companies. And no one waves me away. No one wants to get out of this conversation, right? Because everybody loves travel. I frequently joke, I joined ASTA late November of 21, right? It's basically December when I joined ASTA in 21. So I like to joke I came in to bat cleanup. Like, I got the recovery part of the pandemic, not the, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my bills part of the pandemic? And it's been really satisfying to watch our members come out and have their businesses be, for the most part, even stronger on the other side.
Yeah, I think both Alvin and I resonate with some of those exact same thoughts. We talked about a few of those in our previous podcast episodes where, Alvin's coming from the industry, literally being born into it, probably going on his first fam trip, if not in utero, very shortly thereafter. I went on my first fam trip a little bit later in life, but we've always sort of been true believers. And, you might not have been a travel advisor true believer, but you've always been an advocacy true believer. And now you found an industry that is so fun to work in.
It's so fun. It's like, so... I don't want to disparage my previous industry, but let's just say it was slightly more partisan and definitely skewed to one side of the political spectrum. And there were most definitely members of Congress who were just like, crap, I'm going to have to talk about this again with her. Nobody runs from travel. It's great.
And even just the industry events are so much different. You look at other industries and the rubber chicken dinners, the same old, you're dealing with the same sort of policies, the same sort of events, the same sort of people. And we get a lot of that too, because we see a lot of our it's like our best friends that we get to see 6 or 7 times a year at various things. But travel is just so different. Like, Alvin, you've always been in travel. I did, done some sports stuff and some other stuff on the side. But yeah, coming from a retirement focus, I'm not going to disparage them either. I'm sure they were amazing people, but travel is unlike any other industry.
It's funny when, because the average age of the travel advisor it's a lot of second career folks, right? Mm-hmm. So they do tend to be a little older. I think, Alvin, based on some of the surveys you've done in the past, the average age of the travel advisor is a little older, which sometimes, people like to joke about. And I'm like, you guys, this is nothing. Like, I came from a retiree organization. You guys are all young to me.
So let's sort of kick off. We talked about you personally, but let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's get into the ASTA specific stuff. And I'm going to preface this by, you don't get to mention any stools, 3, 4,
Okay,
5-legged or otherwise.
Okay.
And you don't get to mention, you don't get to solicit money on this podcast, because this is going out to just about everybody in the world. So some may be our members, some may not. But
I guess legally I can't solicit
Yeah.
money then, but I would have liked to have known that before coming on the podcast.
Nope. Surprise. Can you start by giving us just a high-level overview of what ASTA is doing in the advocacy front? You know, who you work with, maybe some members of your team. I know we have some external team members as well. Give us sort of that high-level 30,000-foot overview and why it matters to travel advisors.
Can I talk about the things that advocacy is if I do not use the word three-legged stool?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, good. Because I do think that people think about advocacy as just me going to the lovely building that's behind me, right? I think people think about advocacy as like, oh, we paid this association and they got lobbyists and they got me, right? And that is a very, very important part, because whether people know it or not, they all have lobbyists in Washington. Everybody does. They may or may not know it, but there is somebody advocating for every single person probably around the world. But that's just one piece of it, right? The ASTA members taking action on their behalf, the grassroots action is really just as, if not more so important, because it puts a personal face on the policy issues. Like, I go in there and I talk about policy and I can say things like, oh, you got, 11,000 travel advisors, which we think is low in, like, say, the state of Washington, right? It is, and I can say this to one of the Washington senators, it is very different when one of those 11,000 travel advisors walk into their office. So that's the grassroots piece of this. And then we also have the political side, or ASTA does have a political action committee. Congratulations, you found the one platform where I cannot solicit funds. You're welcome, listeners. I was legally prevented from doing so. But then we have the political side, which really is strong in allowing us to foster relationships with lawmakers and their top staff. So why do all these things matter to travel advisors? Because there are 1,000 competing interests on Capitol Hill and in the administration and in state houses across the country on any given day. I have a very new team to ASTA. Everyone has been hired within the last 13 months. So we have Kate Taylor on our coordinator side, who's really a utility player for ASTA. A lot of people listening have probably seen emails from her. She has taken on the day-to-day managing of ASTA's political action committee, making sure I don't go to jail by ensuring our records are properly recorded to the Federal Election Commission. Then we also have Laura Vogel, who started a little over 6 months ago. She is really leading the charge on the grassroots front and in state houses. We've seen a number of state tax fights in the last couple of years. They are not slowing down. We have a few fights that we're facing at the present moment. So Laura is working with our leaders on the ground to make sure that those in state houses understand the business models of travel advisors, and also working directly with ASTA's chapter leaders to encourage engagement. Is that a very, very long way of answering your question, Schottey?
No, I'm just really focused on how we can get Kate Taylor to take a day off so that you actually do go to jail.
Oh, okay. You should do it on the 20th of every month. That is when the FEC reports are due. So now you know.
Keep a note. Keep a note.
Yeah.
Well, with all that you mentioned, Jess, I mean, that's important stuff, especially for advisors to really understand the influence that they have with their elected officials. I mean, there's so many times during Ledge Day that we go on, and a lot of advisors don't really understand the power that they have by going in, sharing their story, sharing about their businesses, and really shedding a light into this industry and this profession. We had a conversation with Jay, who emphasized the importance for advocacy, not just for ASTA and your job and Kate and Laura, but every advisor's responsibility. Can you share a little bit more about why it's important for advisors to really support grassroots campaigns, especially now more than ever?
So I'm going to try and say this in a way that is both professional and doesn't get me fired. Um, I don't think a travel advisor is a well-known entity, right? I think it has been my experience in my time here. I mean, even when I was interviewing with ASTA a few years ago, like, travel advisor, are they a travel agent? Oh, it is. We don't call them travel agents anymore. And we don't call them travel agents anymore because they're not booking agents. Their jobs look vastly different than they did even 10 years ago, right? I mean, Alvin, you know this better than anybody. You are curating experiences and cultivating trips of a lifetime, right? This isn't like, oh, I don't have the internet, so can you please book my airline ticket anymore? That is not the industry. But I don't think that fact is well known with policymakers and lawmakers. Don't get me wrong. We have our staunch champions in Congress, and all the people who came before me at ASTA have made sure of that, right? We got our go-tos. We have the people who know their travel advisors. They know who's in their states. They tell me their names, not the other way around, right? But I would say on the whole, we have some work to do in saying like, hey, I am a small business owner in your district, or I own a multi-million-dollar corporate travel management business in your district. Like, we have some work to do. And that is where the grassroots voice is really, really important, because what our members do has a direct impact on their local communities, their states, the country, right? And if nothing else, members of Congress respond to money. They understand economic impact. And when you put that face on an issue, I mean, it's no surprise, I love Legislative Day. It's obviously my favorite ASTA event. I make no qualms about that because, and I mean, you guys can speak to this. You've been here you've been at several of them. That vibe in the room when people get back from the Hill, right? They spent all day meeting with their legislators and they feel like they've made a difference, and they have made a difference. We saw an increase in co-sponsors last year on our 2 priority bills in ways we hadn't in previous years, right? One bill was the same as the year before. We didn't see any increase in co-sponsors. This year was like double. So when you feel like you've affected policy, when you've affected change, that is so powerful. And then they go back and they tell their colleagues and they talk to people about it at their consortia events or their host agency events, right? And when you feel you've made a difference, like, that keeps ASTA in the minds of lawmakers as well, because then more people are contacting Congress.
But here's the important question that Jay brought up. Can we get hats?
Hats?
Hats.
Like,
we saw the realtors, they had hats, and it looked like it was something that we were missing out, because all the advocacy groups wore hats. So we felt left out. Jay really wants some hats. He wanted for his own candidacy. So I think hats is the way to go.
I mean, I'm going to have some words with Jay after this, but that's fine. Okay. So here's one of the things I love about the ASTA members. You can make all the hats you want. You have at it. There are organizations that are very, very easily definable on the Hill, right? When the Alzheimer's Association is on the Hill, you know it, because they are in purple t-shirts, right? Yep. You know it's Alzheimer's. Breast cancer, you know, everyone's wearing pink. You got it. And that is a very, very powerful visual. I say this to the social media marketing guy sitting in front of me. That makes for an excellent picture in front of the Capitol. One of the things I think that sets the ASTA members apart is their professionalism. Again, I've worked at a number of membership associations. I worked on the Hill. I see these constituent groups all the time, right? Because, I live here. They're everywhere. But the ASTA members go into these meetings the way they do their day-to-day jobs, right? They are professional. They are polite. They understand the importance of relationship building. And I love when I stand in front of them and prep them for their day, that, when they go to the Hill the following day, I don't have to say, please dress nicely. Don't wear jeans. Treat them as professionals and they'll treat you like professionals. I think the fact that we're not wearing hats and t-shirts also kind of sets the ASTA members apart. I don't have to prep them to not be rude. What we do prep them is you treat this meeting like you would treat a client meeting, right? This is the beginning or the ongoing part of a relationship. This isn't a one and done. You don't come to legislative day, have one 20-minute meeting, and then don't see that office again for another year. This is part of relationship building. And I think the ASTA members really understand that. And I think it gives us a leg up on our legislative day.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, you mentioned it before, but there's nothing as dangerous as an empowered advisor, because once they leave Leg Day, they understand what they need to do to advocate for this industry. And it's amazing. Like you said, I've been to several, and I constantly see advisors just get reinvigorated because they understand what they need to do. And I love it.
No hats, Jay. You heard it here.
Well, maybe for the pictures. Maybe for the picture.
Maybe for the picture. Okay.
Marketing guy. Figure that out.
Do you want me to ask Jay on our committee call upcoming if the if they want to fund the hat for this?
I heard big, silly purple hats. You were talking, but that's all I could
teal hats, Schottey. Look at ask the teal. They would be teal trucker hats, obviously.
Well, we'll need to be united in the photos, but let's talk about, when we're united with our voice, we're united when we come with our initiatives, with policy changes. Can you talk about some of the recent wins that ASTA has achieved through advocacy?
Sure. This is a nice little prep for River Cruise. We're going to talk about all of these. And I hope if you're listening to this podcast after River Cruise, I hope you were there. It is my second favorite ASTA event. It's maybe third after the advocacy dinner. It's hard to choose. So we are in the first year of a 2-year Congress right now, 2025. So when a Congress ends, as the 118th Congress did in December, all the bills that were introduced but were not signed into law, they die. They no longer exist. All new bills need to be reintroduced in the next Congress. Right now we're in the 119th Congress. So if you take a look back at last year, I'm going to talk about things that, as I talk today, no longer exist, right? So I just want to make sure that that's clear up front. So in April, the Department of Transportation came out with rules that left travel advisors, in some circumstances, responsible for airline ticket refunds when the flight was canceled or significantly changed. This is money they no longer have. And we didn't like that, and we tried to prevent it. And nonetheless, the rule came out slightly unfavorable to travel agencies. So we said, okay, what are we going to do about it? And we took this issue to Congress. It found favor with Maria Salazar, who is a congresswoman in the Miami area, very large ASTA member company in her district, who she knows very, very well. We said, hey, this isn't fair. Her staff said, no, it's not fair at all. So we introduced legislation that would have left small businesses exempt from that requirement. And that bill was introduced just a couple of weeks before Legislative Day last year. I think it was actually 1 week before Legislative Day last year. And so we had 3 original co-sponsors, and our members took that to the Hill. It was the first of 2 bills that they advocated for, and we came away with 5 new co-sponsors that year. Now, I don't think it would be news to anyone to know that we live in a very, very contentious political environment right now. And it is very, very difficult to get things done on Capitol Hill. So people are like, oh, what happened to that bill? Is the Senate going to take it up, or is the House, is it going to vote? We are in an environment where more than doubling co-sponsors for a piece of legislation is considered a win. I frequently joke that my job is a game of inches, not a game of yards, because those additional co-sponsors now understand. I know that they have travel advisors and travel agencies in their district, right? I know that they understand our members' business models in ways that they maybe didn't before Legislative Day. And that in and of itself is a win. I don't want to continue to drone on, but we've had a couple of successful state tax fights as well in 2024, a couple of which are resurfacing now in 2025.
I am perfectly fine if you continue droning on. As I listened to some of the earlier episodes of this podcast, I realized I was very mean to Alvin. So I definitely need another person to be mean to, because I can't just be nice.
I know why I'm here.
Yeah. So I think it's hard for advisors, especially many of our advisors. Our member advisors are very busy. And we talk constantly about working in your business and working on your business. And both things are very important. But advocacy kind of fits a little in both camps, but more in that working on your business camp, where it's like these things don't come to the top of mind every day. These things don't often result in sales or new clients, but what they do is they protect the sales and the clients that you currently have. And a lot of these, whether it's a sales tax thing that you mentioned at the state level or a compliance order that can come from the federal government at any time, you may not see the initial benefit as these things, get cleared out of the way, but they definitely can sneak up behind you and hurt your business in the long term. So without mentioning legislative day, because we mentioned that a couple of times, and I think Alvin's going to have a follow-up on that after, but why is it so important for advisors to be politically engaged? Because some people just aren't wired that way. Some people don't understand what this all means, and quite frankly, are happy to tune it out. So why is it important, even if they don't see the immediate effects on their day-to-day business?
Like, I certainly wouldn't fault anyone for wanting to tune out politics these days, right? I get it. My job is staying on top of the news. And it's the job of everyone who does the same job that I do in DC. And there are a lot of us. My job is not unique. So I get it, especially when your business is booming, especially when you have 15 client calls in one day, and especially when you're paying an organization to keep their finger on the pulse for you, right? That makes complete sense. I get it. What I would say is, if any other reason to be engaged is to continue building the brand recognition of not only just ASTA, but of the travel advisor profession, right? Attend a town hall. Talk about if, we have a tax provision that may expire at the end of 2025 if it's not extended. We're currently in the process of surveying our members to see how many of them are taking advantage of this tax deduction. If you are one of those people, go to a town hall meeting and talk about what that means for you, because they're probably thinking of other small businesses in their district and not yours, because we need to stay in front of them. A lot of people think advocacy is about policy, right? Well, I have the right policies. I'm on the right side of policy. My policy makes complete sense. There was like 10,000 bills introduced in the last Congress, right? A lot of bills make sense. What's going to set you apart is having a relationship with congressional offices who know you and understand your business. And also me having a relationship with those offices, which is why I'm sitting here in my living room about to go to a lunch instead of in the office with my coworkers. Like, it's important to keep the travel advisor name in front of members and their staff.
And so you mentioned that, we talked a little bit about legislative day. Again, an eye-opening experience for any advisor or for anyone, whether you're an independent contractor, an advisor, an executive. Again, it's unreal what it feels like when you walk the halls of Congress and get to meet your elected officials. Can you talk more about legislative day and why people should put it on their radar, especially for those who've never been or never done any type of advocacy?
Let's start with the dates for this year. It's October 6th through 8th. So just, we're going to have registration open hopefully later in March, early April, so people can start planning for this event. And I could talk about it all day, right? Like, you're affecting change. You're going into your congressional office. I think the best thing to do is to read the testimonials on the ASTA website of your fellow advisors who have attended in the past, right? How many times, Michael, Alvin, have we heard from first-timers, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't make time for this event before. I'm going to be back next year. They know that they are making a difference, right? And it's easy for me to sit here and say, like, the things that they do at Legislative Day, I do all the time. It's my job, right? It's not theirs. So when the advisors take time out of their very, very busy schedules, and from what I hear, advisors are very busy these days, which is awesome. to advocate for the entire industry, the entire industry owes them a debt of gratitude, right? We get 250 people the legislative day who are speaking for the over 200,000 travel advisors who are promoting policies to strengthen your business. And when you feel like you've done that, you want to come back again and again.
Some powerful stuff. I mean, advocacy is what keeps our industry moving forward. And it's people like you and your team who do a phenomenal job just advocating for us, spreading our name, making sure policies are in line with what our businesses need. But Jess, thank you for stopping by, sharing some knowledge, and just being an advocate for our industry.
Well, thank you for being nice to me, Alvin, which is more than I can say for your co-host.
I had a really nice follow-up, but you ruined that opportunity. You've ruined it.
I'm a life ruiner.
Well, you have any final thoughts for our viewers out there, Jess?
Well, thank you for everyone who listened to me pontificate for, I'm pretty sure, more than 20 minutes on the importance of advocacy. Thank you to the ASTA members for making my job easier day in and day out. I love advocating for you. I love this industry, and I hope to see you all at an ASTA event very soon.
ASTA plays so many important roles for us as agency owners. It's not only networking with other agency owners and on a local level, but on a national level, between the education experiences, the advocacy that ASTA does for us. I think that there's something for everyone in ASTA, and they help us on many different levels.
One of the things that was said yesterday is, who can I call and what will they do? And the networking and the opportunities to meet people and develop our relationships really help us answer that question.
It's the one time you can really come together with colleagues and share advice, share encouragement. It's the only chance we really get at that.
ASTA is an educational organization. That's the heart and soul of ASTA. You really can't do much from a legislative standpoint on a grassroots effort in your own location. If you're in Miami or Chicago or Charlottesville, Virginia, like we are, you sort of have to be part of that educational experience for Ledge Day, so that you can carry that knowledge up to Capitol Hill and inform our decision makers, our lawmakers.